Heyo, it's Christy. This is video number 2 for Learning Target 4 in Bio. So I'm just gonna jump back right into where I was. So again, Bio, Learning Target 4, yellow folder. I'm gonna open up my notes again really quick. And I'm going to download them because that's how I prefer to read them. So again, this arrow, I'm gonna click on that. And then I'm going to open those notes up, and I'm also going to look at my reflection questions. Remember that these reflection questions, folks, I just did a video about how you're supposed to copy them, paste them into a Google document, right? Because you can't answer them in the PDF itself. You didn't see that video, go back and click video 1. Alright, so the first 20 questions, straight from the slides, not looking for anything really complicated. If you get 1 or 2 of them wrong, I'm not too worried about it. The last 8 questions, those are the ones I'm going to be grading pretty, like a quiz, right? So what I would do is I go through my notes, like me, I'm going to go through the notes. You should be following along on your reflection sheet and, answering those questions as I teach. Okay, so here we go. Function of carbohydrates, learning target 4. I think I've said most of this already, but again, I'll quickly say, if you don't have any stickers, you should exit out of this video and click on this video right here. Okay? If you don't have any stickers or if you don't know where you're at, exit out of this video, click on this video. If you have free stickers, keep on scrolling, or not scrolling, I'm scrolling. Keep on staying with me here. So how many stickers should I have as of today? Well, I just said it. You should have 3 stickers as of today. 3 stickers as of today. Cool. What learning target are we learning about this week? Well, this is our learning target right here. Student knows the primary functions of carbohydrates in living cells. That's the learning target for the week. And I've already said all of this too, but I might as well read it again. This week, your reflection questions will be due on 5/18. I shouldn't have said this week. This is 11 days from today. You have 11 days to get these questions done. It is my hope, I've given you a long time, 11 days is a long time, that it gives you guys some time to get caught up. Hopefully you can finish this up in like 4 or 5 days, and then you can get caught up and do any other work you need to do to, any of the other stickers. Remember, I will grade those last 8 questions like a quiz, so take some time with them, right? Also, if they're wrong, I will make you revise them. Just keep that in mind. Also, no quiz this week. Woo! No quiz. Alright, so this is a little bit of a review here. So we've been talking about carbohydrates. We've been talking about different types of carbohydrates. 3 types of carbohydrates are right here. We've got monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. We've talked about prefixes a lot. I'm actually going to be continuing to talk more about prefixes today. So mono, it means 1 saccharide. It means sugar. So what this means is 1 sugar. It's made up of 1 sugar unit. Disaccharides are 2 sugar units linked together. Polysaccharides are more than 10 sugar units linked together. Typically, polysaccharides are like hundreds or thousands of units, interestingly enough, linked together. The word function, I know I've taught you this a bunch, but we're going to go over it again. The word function is different than structure. Last week we talked about structure, what carbohydrates kind of look like, what are they made up of. This week we're talking about function. What's their job, right? What's the job of carbs inside our body? So there's a very general answer to this question. They provide us with long-lasting energy This is why sometimes runners will, like, I swear, my grandpa, he's a runner. He'll run like miles and miles and miles. And he could eat like a whole 2 plates of pasta before he runs, right? Because what pasta ends up doing is giving you long-lasting energy, right? So a lot of runners will actually carb up before they embark on a long run. Okay, we've talked about 3 monosaccharides so far, and I just want to kind of review, but also this is a little bit new stuff, right? So glucose, it's one of the most important carbohydrates, I think, in the world for humans and other animals. The first thing I want to say here, guys, is all 3 of these things, they can be found inside our body. They can be made inside, which is what endogenous means. But they can also be found outside our body. So all 3 of these technically are endogenous and exogenous. But when we're talking about glucose in this unit, I'm mostly talking about it from the endogenous perspective. Okay? So what that means. So glucose, it's found in our blood. It's called blood sugar. It's very important to keep us alive, right? It's a sugar that is actually created inside our bodies, right? These 2, galactose and fructose, they can be created in our bodies, but it's not nearly as common to talk about these from that kind of perspective. So, like fructose, it only can be created in our body in like very, very extreme circumstances, right? So when most people talk about fructose, we're talking about exogenous fructose. Fructose that's in fruit, so the stuff that makes apples sweet, or the stuff that makes honey sweet, that is fructose. And typically it's referred to, when we're referring to it, we're talking about outside the body. Same thing with galactose. Again, our bodies can make it. It's not as typical. We're typically talking about lactose found in like milk products, like milk, yogurt, that kind of stuff. So all 3 of them can be both endo or exo, but for the sake of this class right now, we're talking blood sugar as endogenous, and we're typically saying fructose, galactose, exogenous. All right, so more about glucose. So let's, again, just gotta repeat this vocab so it gets in your head. So it's endogenous, right? We're talking about how it's created within our bodies. It's a monosaccharide, right? So again, it's a sugar that's made of 1 unit. Any monosaccharide is a simple carbohydrate. In order to be a simple carbohydrate, it's either a monosaccharide or a disaccharide. Since glucose is mono, that means it's a simple carb. Again, it's found in our blood. It's what we know as blood sugar, or what we call blood sugar. It is one of 3 monosaccharides that are used by the human body, and it's the only one that can be used to directly produce something very important called ATP. So what is ATP? ATP is essentially our body. It's like how we have energy, right? So I want you to think of ATP like cash, like money. So if you want to go do something fun, you need money. If you want your body to do anything at all, like just picking this drink up or this can that's empty, you need ATP. You can't do anything without ATP. And the reason that glucose is so very important is because it directly produces ATP. So we need that ATP to do anything and everything, even me sitting here talking, right, to a screen, ATP. And glucose is what gives us or helps us produce the ATP. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So now we're going to talk about what happens when this whole glucose system is messed up. So glucose is very important. I just described why, right? It helps us do all the things that we do. So 2 things. Well, first thing, prefixes. More about prefixes, folks. Hyper, and hypo. Okay? So hyper, if you see hyper and it's referring to something like medical or sciencey, hyper means that something is higher than it should be. Hypo means something's lower than it should be. So, one that most of you probably have heard before, hyperthermia, hypothermia. Hyperthermia means you're too hot, you need to cool down, you're gonna like pass out if you don't cool down soon. Hypothermia means you're so cold that if you don't warm up soon, you could very well die, right? So again, hyper means you're too hot, hypo means you're too cold. So these words here, we have hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. Hyperglycemia means you have too much glucose in your blood. If you have too much, it could start killing cells. It could cause severe inflammation in your entire body, so everything's puffing up, and it could kill you. Hypoglycemia, you don't have enough glucose in your blood. If this gets so bad, it could make you pass out. It can put you into a coma. Again, it can kill you. These are very, very serious conditions. So let's see here. So this it gets a little complicated. It's not too complicated. We'll go through this together. So when the body does not convert enough glucose, blood sugar, nope, I misread that. My bad. Also, I think this is covering this. Hold on. All right. When the body does not convert enough glucose, blood sugar levels remain high. Okay, so what does that mean? It means we're just talking about how, in this particular situation, the person has too much glucose in their blood. They're becoming hyperglycemic. So insulin, which is a drug, helps cells absorb the extra glucose, which reduces the glucose in the blood, and then it actually can help provide cells with that glucose for energy. So all I really want you to take from this is that insulin is used to absorb glucose in the blood, and it actually helps push some of that glucose into cells, right? So insulin helps people who have too much glucose, right? You see this with diabetes sometimes. When blood sugar levels are too low, the pancreas will release glucagon. Glucagon is a polysaccharide, again, saccharide that's made up of many, many, many individual units, that's made up of glucose molecules, right? So when blood sugar levels are too low, glucagon's released, right? So my point of this slide is that when most people hear the word carbohydrates, they think of like bread, right? And I want you, when you hear the word carb, like you have really, really, really important bodily systems that like live or die type systems in your body that require certain carbohydrates like glucose, right? So carbohydrates are actually really, really, really important to keep us alive. Again, if think of it as it being balanced, like we want our glucose system to be balanced. If it's not balanced, if you have too much or you too little, or there's too little, really bad things can start that. All right, fructose. When you hear fructose, I want you to think fruit, FR. Right? Fructose is, like I said, it's typically referring to exogenous fructose found in fruit and honey. Again, it's a monosaccharide, so it's made up of one unit. It's a simple carb. It can be endogenous. It's only endogenous. So if you're in like severe stress, your body can actually produce fructose. And when I say stress, I don't mean like, oh my gosh, I have a test and I'm gonna fail. Not the kind of stress I'm talking about. I'm talking about like life or death stress. Like if your body is sensing that it's not gonna get enough food, and even sometimes if it's not gonna get enough oxygen, it'll start producing fructose as like a backup energy storage, which I think is really freaking cool, right? Like we have backup, like it's like our body knows when we're in trouble and it's It's gonna start backing us up with energy. I think that's pretty amazing. All right, this is the end of video 2. I'll see you in video 3. Peace.